the narrative. Luke is S tier, easy. This character, I think he's the best in the game.
Luke might be number 1. He has all the tools. His fireball's broken. He has a dragon punch, great corner carries, lots of damage on his combos, crouching strong is plus.
Luke tier, because Luke is easily, clearly the best character in the game right now.
This character does billion damage, good corner carry.
When Street Fighter 6 was released, Luke was recognized as one of the strongest characters in the meta by numerous top-level players, many of which claimed he was much better than other top tiers in Season 1 like Ken and JP. However, in today's meta for Season 2, he isn't seen as a viable pick for world-level competition these days. So what exactly happened? How did Luke fall off? Why do so many players, myself included, think the character is not relevant in today's meta? Is there any hope left for our Memphis boy? It's easy to say, oh, he got nerfed, but not a lot of players know how the nerfs affect his viability. So today, I'd like to dive deep into the character's history in the meta, gameplay design, his strengths and weaknesses, and how the nerfs dropped him down from top tier. When the game was first released, players were quick to learn the strengths and the potential Luke had to become top tier. The birds were definitely going crazy on how insane his kit was.
Look at this. Look at this. No. Look at... Whoa!
There were a ton of Luke representatives in the Season 1 meta, such as NL, Dual Kevin, Kawano, Noah, and Bonchan, who all contributed to his success in the early meta. Between all the top level Lukes, I would say the 2 players who made the biggest splash include Chris Wong from Hong Kong and MenRD from the Dominican Republic, with Chris Wong getting first place at CPT France and reaching second place at Capcom Cup 10. And then there's Mena, the man who has gotten first place at almost every Grand Slam Street Fighter 6 tournament with both Luke and Blanca, from winning CEO 2023, Red Bull Kumite Finals,
is your Red Bull Kumite New York champion!
and EVO Japan 2024.
And the amnesia finally comes out, gets baited. Mena RD, EVO Japan 2024 champion!
Yeah, you get it by now. Luke is a solid character. Let me explain. Luke, even in today's meta, isn't a bad character at all. He has a really strong fireball game, really good range on his normals, invincible reversals, some of the best and most consistent ways to get Oki, really fast drive rush, decent anti-airs, and overall, one of the most commanding neutrals in the entire game. His tools range from decent to above average to some of the best in the entire game. Look at his crutch medium punch, for example. This move is actually ridiculous and has had so many memes made on how good it is. Even with the nerfs today, it's still a good button for Luke, despite not being game-breaking anymore. Similar arguments can be made for his stand blast, stand heavy punch, and jump fierce. You get the picture. Luke is a good character, because he's solid. This toolkit, even in today's meta, makes him a viable pick for online matches and smaller turnies. But for world level competition, he just doesn't make the cut, unfortunately. Why? Well, because he's solid.
Whoa!
I know, a little confusing. You might be asking, why would Luke being solid be bad for world level competition? Well, that's just it. He's only solid and nothing else. Let me explain. All of the strengths I listed earlier make for a viable character. A character that can be good enough for winning. But for winning major premiers, well, the truth is, it's not. Let's compare another character who is doing really well in this meta and is quite similar to Luke, Ken.
Smart choice.
Ken is also solid, boasting most of the strengths that Luke has, such as decent anti-airs, good normals, really good Oki, dear god, and a neutral that puts an insane mental stack on his opponent. The difference, however, is Ken has one extra thing Luke just doesn't have this meta: degeneracy.
Let's get it!
Alongside Ken being solid, he also has another move called Jinrai, which forces an opponent in a high-low mix-up situation that chips both health and drive gauge really well. And we all know how important drive gauge is to maintain this game, unless you're Noah.
From Noah to Posey burns himself out like he does always.
Most players below the top level struggle to deal with this move due to its complexity and ability to frustrate one's defense. Hell, it's even annoying for top level players to deal with.
What is this? It's the one around of Jinra.
He also has Dragon Lash, a move that you can throw in neutral to add to the opponent's mental stack. These extra gimmicks / knowledge check moves make a big difference for which characters top level players pick for tourney. Say you are competing at EVO. In order to reach Grand Finals and win the tourney, you need to win an average of 10 to 12 sets, all without dropping more than one set.
During the way, you will face other top level players who will constantly adapt to your playstyle and force change in the way you play. This sounds like it would take a lot of mental energy to play so many sets in one weekend. That's because it is, if you're playing a character with only the bare minimum. That's Luke. However, that job of winning Evo can be much easier if you play a character with a bare minimum plus more. That's Ken. This is primarily because he can always use Jinrai and Dragon Lash in order to gimmick and cheese his earlier rounds against players who aren't as equipped to deal with it. When you can get away with one move or one strategy, it saves you so much mental energy that you could use against the higher level players later on. With Luke, however, you need to constantly use so much mental stamina against every player you face because you don't have cheap tricks. You don't have Ken's Jinrai, you don't have Akuma's Demon Flip, nor do you have Rashid's level 2 to steal wins.
I love it. Category 5. Here we go.
You have to play solid every single round, no matter the opponent. Even if you clear your first few rounds as Luke, how much mental stamina will you have by the time you start to face higher level players? This is why, even though Luke is solid moveset wise, he's inconsistent in Season 2's meta. You might argue, Luke was always only solid. Why is this a problem now? Well, because it wasn't as prevalent in the past. I'll explain.
For one, his damage was crazy high for someone as robust as him. Luke was pulling Gakuba and sometimes Marissa levels of damage back in Season 1. Remember that comeback combo Chris Wong did against Valmaster at CPT France?
This is not good. He did burn out.
Massive for Chris Wong.
But he can't be too hasty with the stun. He cannot be too hasty with that stun. He's gonna go. He's gonna go for it. Wow. He is going for it.
Beautiful. That could be a dead jungle.
This.
CA, right?
No, I think he's got spec of health.
Really?
There's too much scaling.
What? Hey, Jammer's on back on form stuff.
What?
Come on, then.
No way! I thought there was way too much scaling prior to level 3.
Ouch. Did spending so much gauge matter if you played a character that only needs 2 interactions on average to kill you? Unfortunately, the nerfs that added extra damage scaling on his key combo starters have affected how many interactions it takes for Luke to win a round. Now, he's spending so much drive gauge for not nearly as much damage as he did, which sometimes makes it not worthy of a spend. It's not like Luke can just go for meterless routes too, because a lot of his high damage came from crouch heavy punch, which usually comes from a drive rush cancel most of the time. A normal that has also seen nerfs to its damage scaling. Spending so much drive gauge for not nearly as much damage now puts him in burnout much sooner, which can give his opponent a big opportunity to steal the round from him.
Awesome, put him in the burnout too. Speaking of which, I mean, no one doesn't really care, right? Respect my crouching fears. Oh, you're dead. Oh, he went for the jump.
My second point as to why his solid enough moveset wasn't as problematic before was because people of all skill levels were generally worse at the game compared to now. People were consistently losing to his heavy flash knuckle on block, his throw loop in the corner, and his fireball game with Sandblast. Players have now adapted and started developing better counterplay against Luke, which has led to his consistency being stripped away. We still have not developed consistent counterplay to Ken's Jinrai, or his overall pressure in the corner. Akuma just came out, so of course no one's going to have a solid answer against Air Fireball and Demon Flip yet. Hell, we're still trying to find answers against Rashid's level 2. My main point here is, Luke's weaknesses weren't as noticeable until now, after the nerfs. A double-edged sword that I want to bring attention to are perfect knuckles.
Perfect!
Yeah. Luke executes a perfect knuckle whenever he holds the punch button on his flash knuckle command and lets go at a certain timing. Perfect knuckles lead to his best damage and convergence for Oki and stage positioning. With enough practice, you should be able to get perfect knuckles down a good 95% of the time. At least, that would be the case if every system was the same in every tournament. Offline events like to switch between PC and PS5 setups, all with varying levels of input delay. This is due to either budget or sponsorship reasons. As such, players who get used to the knuckle timings at their home setup may struggle to get them down consistently when traveling, where the setups may differ. This can lead to inconsistencies and instability where one drop knuckle could either lead to a loss of an advantage state or set Luke up for a bad disadvantage.
Inferno impact! Oh, that should be alright.
Wow,
He's got the level 3, but
the back throw into the corner is so scary. Walk up.
Oh my god! He actually tried to walk up the tank and throw the not connect.
Oh no!
Ramsey gets the hit, and Ramsey takes out Joe Umeroken. Ready with these.
It's problematic to the point where top player Chris Wong fell short in his EVO 2024 placing, stating that the console lag affected his performance and will opt to play Akuma in future events. That may carry input delay on their setups. Although Luke isn't as dominant as he once was in today's meta, there's still light at the end of the tunnel. There are still many great solo Luke players that are pushing his meta today, like Noah and Kami. Luke may not be solo viable for winning premieres in today's meta, but he's still seen as a viable mid to high tier character who can have usage as a co-main. But hey, the future is uncertain. It may not be long until Luke gets his next big win. This is Tran, thanks for watching.